Yo, so what is up, everybody? Welcome to the NOANO Legacy. I'm excited for this particular episode. It's my very first interview, and I've interviewed myself a few times, and I actually have the recording of me interviewing myself. But I actually have a physical human being that I'm recording today, and I'm very excited to introduce this man to you all. Specifically because with me transitioning from active duty military into an active full-fledged agent, man, this guy, a real estate agent, this guy has been there every single day when I have a question. He answers the question. He doesn't give me fluff answers. He just kind of keeps it straight to the point, and he doesn't take 10 years of giving me an answer. So I'm super excited to introduce my man.
No bullshit
Yeah,
over here.
none of that, right? I'm super excited to introduce my man Danny, or Daniel Valley Homes, as we call him on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna definitely make sure we tag you in this to make sure you get some of my fans as well.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
I'm all about it.
So let's get straight to it, man. First of all, you're about to be a pappy.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. We just found out. So I found out on January 1st. We have a YouTube video, by the way.
They do. Definitely follow the YouTube channel.
It's called the Cuevas family. You can definitely follow it on YouTube.
You're gonna have to spell that because I have some, black people.
Oh, okay.
Followers, and they don't know how to spell Cuevas.
All right, that's fine. So Cuevas family.
You don't have to spell family. They got that part.
All right, for sure. I just said it out. So yeah, the Cuevas family. We're a family channel, so we just now, because we're having a baby, we're going to be transitioning to more like learning about the pregnancy and kind of like how our journey is throughout the pregnancy. Like we just no shit. We 2 days ago we saw the baby.
Right.
We have the ultrasound. We saw the little heartbeat.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
How exciting is that though?
It's like so I've been married to my wife for about 2 years now, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
We were married May of 2018, and since literally, and I talk about this in the videos.
Yeah.
From the day that we got married, before we got married, so on the way to the courthouse, my mom, we drove her there,
right,
and about 20 minutes into the ride, a 30-minute ride, she goes dead quiet in the car.
Wait, who is she? She's going.
My mom.
Okay.
My mom.
Okay.
And she goes, so when are you guys planning on having babies? Like straight up, like not even day one, day one,
not even a full day one.
Like we haven't gotten married yet.
Oh yeah, okay, gotcha.
We have like an hour and a half until we get married.
Yeah.
And she's already asking us when we're gonna have babies. So
That's
it's like
funny.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
But we're excited. And again, I talk about this in the videos that we have.
Right.
Everything in our relationship really has had a good timing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is a great time to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a place in my life where I'm confident, and I know that I can provide for my family, and I know I can teach my son or daughter to be an effective person within society, and not be not be a child myself.
Yeah.
Because I've had those points in my life.
That's huge.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I just feel like I'm a grown up.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm a grown up, and I can actually teach them how to be an effective person in society.
Yeah, no, and it's funny you say that because my first time, I think that was my first time officially meeting your wife was at the
dinner
Christmas
that we
dinner,
had.
yeah. And I remember asking them, so when you guys plan on having a kid? And as it came out, I was like, fuck, is this something you asked somebody? Like when you first meet them? I felt a little weird when I asked.
And you know what? I felt like you felt weird
asking
asking the question. And it was like we had to give a standard answer because we have gotten that question quite a bit.
Right.
Like my family has always been like, hey, when are you guys going to have a baby? When are you guys going to have a baby? Hey, when are you going to have a baby?
Yeah.
Because I personally have a really big family. We have about 70 members of my family, just on my mom's side.
Jeez. So that's something that you kind of already want to get into. You already have an idea. That's what you want to do.
So I know, I have felt the family structure.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know what it is to feel a family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So and not to feel it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of my story too. Not feeling like I'm part of a family because my family's been broken.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it's cool to be at the point where I'm okay and my wife is at a point where she's okay.
Right.
And we're gonna be we're gonna be good.
So talk about that. You're kind of talking about there's a point where your family was broken. Like kind of dive into that.
So so my family was part of the crash in 2008 and 2009.
Right.
So we ended up losing our home, and this is actually part of the reason why I became a real estate agent. Is we lost our house, we lost our home, and it became an issue. You know, like divorce tends to be something that becomes a financial thing in a lot of people's lives, and it became like a really big thing in my family's life.
Yeah.
And my mom and my dad ended up separating after we lost our home, which sucks. You know, it's a terrible thing. You know, like I definitely had a sense of being homeless because of the fact that like we had to live with someone else, and it wasn't our place. And there's no fault of my mom, no fault of my dad. I mean, it's just it was part of the market, and a lot of people went through it. Maybe there is parts of it that you can blame on people, but like I try not to look at it. I just try to think of like a solution based. You know, I'm solution based.
You definitely are. Definitely is.
So like I always think it like, okay, it happened to us, and it happened to us for a reason. So like, what can I do to help people avoid that? And yeah, like so I felt that like, okay, my family's been broken up. I like half of my family is essentially gone. My dad's side of the family is essentially gone because now we have this separation that like, oh, my father's not here, so now they can't ask me, you know, like, how you doing? Like even to this day, no one in my dad's side of the family has been able to reach out to us or has reached out to us.
Right.
And it's rough. It sucks because it's like
kind of lost that like family kind of aura. Yeah.
I felt I lost it. Like I had family members that were at our house every day. That were at our house every weekend. Every weekend was a party at our house because of the fact that like, hey, we were the ones that had a house.
Yeah.
And then once we lost that,
you kind of
like,
saw everybody, fade to the wayside.
And it wasn't even a fade, bro. It was more like a dead stop.
Just a drop off.
It was just like, hey, the day we moved out, like, hey, congratulations, you don't have that side
you
of
don't have that
anymore.
side of the
It was crazy. And like, yeah, we can laugh about it now, but like, damn, dude, like, it sucked.
It took a toll on you.
Exactly.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
And I think that's really just kind of the psychological piece of it, where it's like you just grow so accustomed to being around certain people on a regular basis, and then, life happens and those people just kind of go away, and it's like, well, I thought we were family. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
And so I definitely want to pick on something you really just said, being solution based.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, man. I know people who are not solution based and that choose to just be the victim when life happens. And personally, it's super annoying, super annoying, because I feel like growing up, not even just growing up like as a kid into like 18, 19, but just growing into being an adult, one thing I've noticed is it really just depends on how well you adapt to life kicking you in the face. Yeah. So like talk to me about how or when you realized you were kind of a solution based person, and your views on people kind of playing the victim role.
So it's definitely something that I learned. Like it's something that was learned, a skill. You say like it was learned because of the fact that like I definitely wasn't like that when getting out of high school and like joining the Marine Corps, like going into boot camp doesn't really just transition you to like a solution based person. It was me, like me having to figure things out constantly throughout my life. I like we were I wouldn't say we were homeless, but we didn't really have a home technically. Yeah, I mean, we were living with one of my uncles, which I love him so much for actually doing that for us and providing his home to us, which is it's a beautiful thing. That was my mom's side of the family, and it was that's why I held on to that side of the family so much, because they were the only ones that really offered that. Right. So back to like the whole solution based thing is like, okay, so I've gone through things in my life where like I've had a problem and I've had to figure it out. I right after high school, I had a job as a mechanic, and I was like, dude, I sucked at that job. Yeah, I was like the worst person at that job. And like,
I still don't really know how to change my tires.
Like, bro, like it was the worst. Like and the thing is, my dad was a mechanic. He was legit a master mechanic. Yeah. didn't teach me a thing.
That sucks.
He was a master mechanic, didn't teach me a thing. So
I
like
feel that.
now I'm in this mechanic job, not really knowing what's going on. Now I have to solve a problem. Like how can I fix this person's car, or how can I service this person's car? It's like, okay, like I came to a point where like I have nowhere else to go into this job.
Right.
And I've always been a very ambitious person. Always wanted to be in the film industry and kind of do that kind of a thing,
Right.
and be a producer, and that was like my thing
Yeah.
in high school, and I was going to school for it, and like then I was going to school, like going to LA Film School, and I was like, dude, this sucks.
Really? What was so terrible about
It wasn't like necessarily terrible. It was just like I don't feel like this is not what I'm supposed to do. This isn't it. Like I went into it. I'm like, it's like you're walking into a room and you're like, ooh, no,
This isn't
like,
the room for me.
No, this is like the Zumba class. I'm here for yoga, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you go into a room expecting one thing, and I like.
Right.
I walked out because it just wasn't what I wanted.
But I think that's huge because, man, so many people don't even walk into the room. So many people probably read the sign on the room and just think, nah, I won't even try it. Man, honestly, the fact that you even tried it and went for it, I think is huge.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why you and I the reason you and I gravitate towards each other so easily and we're able to just have conversations so easily is because obviously I think our mindsets are in alignment with what we want, how we want to get it, and how our perspectives are. And I feel like something I've really been learning in life, period, I would say recently, is perspectives. Some people might not have even went through the door. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the fact that you even did that, I think is huge. And you ended up finding something that you do enjoy, something that you do see yourself doing.
Yeah.
Hopefully for life, obviously, hopefully
man.
you want to get some investments going and you kind of take a step back.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, that'll
Baby
be
steps.
eventually. But like, I think the whole point of it is just to really help people, avoid the situation that I went through, and it's letting people know like those hard facts when they don't want to hear it.
That's big.
You know what I mean?
That's
Like hey, I can only afford a $300,000 house, and I want to buy that $300,000 house, and I could barely afford that $300,000 house, and I'm going to tell them like, hey, no, you shouldn't. Like, I'm going to tell you straight up, like, no,
Right.
you can't do it right now. But that's the thing, right now, and I'm going to coach you throughout the whole process to show you how to do it, and what routes to take, and what what to do in your personal life to make sure that you're going towards that goal.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you no right now because it's not going to make sense for you.
Right.
And it's going to hurt you in the long run.
Yeah.
And
I think that's another thing people really have to understand is no now doesn't mean no forever.
Right.
And I think that's big too. Really just kind of having that understanding. I know I've gotten some no's, and they were definitely no's that I thought were supposed to be yeses. But I think it also comes down to exactly what you're saying is preparation. You know what I'm saying? Having somebody in your corner to say, hey, not yet, but eventually, yes, you'll be able to get like the $300,000 house.
Yeah.
And just not letting that kind of defeat you. I guess.
Like I kind of see myself as kind of a coach for these people at times when it comes to the point where like it's not really a good idea for you.
Right.
If what their goals and the reality don't align, I'm going to coach you and make sure that those things actually do align and make sense.
Right.
And that's my job to like make sure that people can align with what their goals are in regards to
right. And what I love about exactly what you're saying too, I think it's so beautiful, is what you're doing is you're putting people over transactions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's great because in this business, it can definitely become a malicious business. It can definitely, any financial really or real estate type of ordeal can really show people who they really are.
Yeah.
In regards to this person being a snake or that person being a snake, especially when you start dealing with money. And you could be a snaky person and be like, oh man, I really don't think, Sally and Joe should be in a $300,000 house. Maybe a $200,000 trailer is what they should be in. But, I don't give a damn. I kind of want the commission. I want the check. Let me just have them sign on the dotted line. And they're adults. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But no, that's not the approach you take. You kind of tell them, hey, that is a potential commission. But at the same time, I'm not here for the money. Specifically, don't get me wrong, because the money's great.
It is.
But I'm not here just for the money. I'm here to literally help people.
Yeah.
And kind of, see people progress and help them, get to a dream. Like a lot of people, the American dream is to buy a home.
Yeah. And to kind of bounce off of that, like, okay, so like if I have somebody that's, let's say they can only afford a mobile home right now,
Right.
and that's that'll be the transaction, right? Down the line, if I'm helping them with that type of transaction down the line, they're going to be my fan because I looked out for them, and they built their own equity, and they built themselves up to make sure that they buy that dream house that they've been looking for in Porter Ranch that's worth $100 million,
versus the $150,000
exactly.
trailer, right.
So now that $150,000 transaction turns into $1 million transaction.
Right.
So it's like and that's always long run type of deal, but and that's not really necessarily the goal. The goal is to really help people and make sure that they make the right decision more so than they make a decision.
Right.
And that's kind of like the thing is, like, that's not really the route that a lot of people take.
Right.
A lot of agents, you'll see this, they'll take the route of like, hey, sold a new house today, sold another house today in escrow.
Right.
Hey, just funded,
Right.
and you'll see that all over their Instagram and all over their Facebook, and I have a person in mind,
Right.
particularly,
Of course.
great guy, but like that's all he posts, and it's like, yeah, but what about that person?
Right.
What about that that family that's being affected? Because it's a family that's being affected.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you change their life? Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you help them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did anything happen? Like, did you actually, like, are they happy with the decision that they made?
Or
was
did
this
they kind of feel forced into it?
exactly?
Yeah.
And at that point, if you did help them, you don't need to promote anymore. They'll promote you.
Right.
They'll help you.
And that's when the referrals come in and things like
Yeah.
that. Right.
Yeah. So now they're your number one fan, and you don't need to post those pictures on Instagram anymore. You don't need to post those pictures on Facebook anymore, do those Facebook ads.
Right.
It's because people are telling other people that, hey, this is my guy.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the guy.
So is that why you kind of choose to take the approach of, like, on your Instagram and on your YouTube channel, you want it to be more personable about like who you are and your family? Is that why? So then people, when they do get referred to you, they're like, oh, let me check this guy out. You know what I'm saying, and see what he's about. Is that kind of why?
I'd rather do the story. I mean, like I said, I wanted to be in film, so I love stories.
Yeah. Even just the ideology of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I always loved stories, and that kind of like coincided with what people are able to provide. They're able to provide their own story behind what a transaction is.
Right. I love that.
And down and dirty, it is a transaction, but it's also a story, and there's always layers to it, and that's what that's what's like really cool about it. Like, I'll put it in a whole paragraph of like a description as behind how this house got sold, what it meant to me and what it meant to the family.
Right.
Like, I had a transaction where it was like a 71-year-old vet, and that dude bought his first property.
Yeah.
Like at 71, like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And we guided him throughout the entire process, and I talk about it in my Instagram posts and my Facebook posts. It's like, I helped this guy do this,
right?
And now him and his wife are in their new home, and they're content, and they're moving forward in life. Before, they were just renting.
Yeah,
they were just those renters that were there for like 15, 20 years, and yeah, it may be late in life, and it is helping them down the line for their family to
right.
Come.
That's legacy wealth.
Exactly, and it's like, that's cool. That's cool.
I think that's big too. Is really just kind of understanding, man, we've been renting for so long. There's no telling how long they've actually wanted to own a home. If it was since they were 30 when they decided that they wanted to. So just to kind of be that guy, to even at 71 years old, to be able to to help those people like that. That's great. But that you kind of you kind of said something that really sparked in my mind, the renting. You know what I'm saying? So my my audience knows how I feel about renting, and first of all, let me start by saying, to each his own.
Yeah.
I am still currently renting, but my goal is this year to buy my first primary residence, my first home.
Let's do it.
Talk to me about how you feel about renting. How do you feel about that,
dude? It's good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's I mean it depends on where you are, of course.
Right.
I mean, in LA, it's kind of difficult to actually purchase a property. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I coach people on how to do it all day. You know, like it's hard to do, but you'll eventually get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's patience.
Right.
You know what I mean? And renting is necessary for some people, and you know the goal always should be to purchase a property, because it becomes your own personal bank account. To be honest,
preach.
It really does. Because I mean, like, let's say a house is worth $500,000. Later on, it will be worth more money.
So much more, especially out here in California.
Yeah, and in California, you get a good amount of returns. And now, like, let's say the house is worth $500,000 today. Next year, it more than likely will be worth more money.
Yeah,
it will.
Yeah, based on historical data.
Yeah, and it like, through all of history,
yeah,
it's going to be worth just more.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Right.
That's just how it works.
Right.
And now you're just paying yourself instead of paying someone else. And I get it. Renting is sometimes necessary.
Right.
If you like to move around a lot, hey, rent.
Right.
Just rent.
It's all person based.
Exactly.
And I agree. I definitely think it's person based. I definitely can't make an argument there. But another way I see it also is specifically military members, right? And so I don't know. I've talked about this before, but I'll talk about this till the day I die. Specifically, I'll harp on the Navy side, right? We get BAH. Right, and I'm pretty sure at E5 Marines get BAH as well.
Yeah, at a certain point.
At a certain point,
a family, yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. At a certain point, you're able to get BAH. BAH is really just a stipend that says, hey, you can go live where you want to live. You don't have to live in the barracks anymore. Right. So it's cool. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, so you get paid to do what you do, right? You get paid to do that job. And then the military gives you more money to go live out in town. And what a lot of people, myself included, what I wanted to do and what I was doing is I was renting, and I was wanting to split the rent with somebody, collect the BAH and, do whatever I want to do with it.
Yeah.
And then I developed the mentality of, instead of just renting, why not have the same mentality of wanting roommates and then owning a house, right? Because at that time, the military is giving me a stipend to go live out in town. And with me still having the same philosophy of keeping roommates, they're paying my mortgage, which at a certain point becomes my own personal bank account. And I think that's something that just needs to be instilled in military members more. And I think really, because what it allows us to do is it allows us to have equity in something, right? And my philosophy is, if you serve this country, you damn sure deserve to own a piece of it.
You have so when you're to be honest, like, even from day one, once you get out of boot camp, whatever you get out of, you have an edge. You have a step above everyone else in the market. You have the most powerful loan that there is the VA loan, because it's absolutely guaranteed.
Preach.
You're guaranteed 100% because you already have the known income. You're going to stay in the military for at least 4 years, and or however much time you're going to be doing it. And now you have this property that you can more than likely afford, and because you're going to get that basic housing allowance, and now you're just having the military essentially pay for your home.
Dude, that's what I try to
have the edge.
Exactly. That's why I try to coach people on this, particularly because I've noticed my mistake, you know what I'm saying? And I'm a man that admits to his mistakes. I'm not ashamed of it, and I never will be, right? It's we all grow and we learn. And once I really understood that that's free money given to us by the military to go own, and like you just said, they're essentially paying our mortgage. It's like, damn. And I'm wasting money at an apartment complex, or I'm wasting money to a landlord, to whoever I'm staying
Or
with.
just not even taking advantage of it
That-
and living in the barracks.
and that's it, or even that. Or some people live on, military housing. I know some great people, some phenomenal
I've lived
people.
in the bricks. I've lived in the
You
bricks.
know what I'm
I've been there.
saying?
I've been there.
I know some phenomenal people that that have the eligibility to go and buy a home, but they choose, whether it's the convenience because on base housing is on base, or if they choose on base housing because they don't want to deal with the headaches of loans, they don't want to deal with the headaches of uh, property management, whatever have you. To each his own, whatever tickles your pickle. But I don't know. It kind of stings a little bit to know that the military is giving you money and you're like, flushing it down the toilet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So to me, it's like you have the opportunity, but
That's
you're
it.
not taking advantage of it because it's a little hard.
Right.
And yeah, it is.
Right.
It's an extra thing you have to do. You have to take out of your day.
Mm-hmm.
People go on deployments. People go on deployments all the time.
Right.
And people transition from one duty station to another duty station,
Mm-hmm.
and having to leave that property or sell that property. That
could be a hassle.
That could be a hassle. It could be an absolute headache.
Right.
And now you don't have a place to live. Now you got to go rent a place, and you sell it too early. You sell it too late.
Right.
Now you have to pay the mortgage for another month. It's like BH is not going to pay for 2 mortgages.
No.
It's that's kind of a headache.
Mm-hmm.
But if you line it out well, I mean, you can get, like you were saying, a property management company that can help you out with renting the property out.
Right.
That's going to cost money, but it's going to make you money in the long run.
Long term.
And it's just like, okay, like there's a way. It's just an extra step.
Yeah, and I think that just kind of comes down to, what are you willing to do for, whatever level of success or whatever level of financial freedom that you particularly want.
Mm-hmm.
What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice, by having the video just went out, but that's cool. The podcast is going great.